I don't know if I'm gonna keep that in. Hello and welcome back to Allie Bakes, where today we are making one of my favorite things in the entire world, triple berry pie. This pie literally gives me goosebumps. It will do your taxes for you. It will explain to you how inflation works, and it will kiss you goodnight every night as it tucks you into bed. So let's get started. So the first thing we have to do is we have to make the pie crust. So I have flour, salt, and sugar, and exact ingredient measurements will be in the description box below. So this is my hack to the perfect pie crust. I don't have like a food processor, I do this by hand. So I have a cup of butter in my freezer because you want the butter really, really cold, otherwise you're gonna make a mess. So take the butter, unsalted butter, and we're gonna cheese grate it to get it into like the kind of texture we want to be able to combine it with our other stuff. I don't think I invented this method, but we're gonna call it the Allie method nonetheless.
Now this only works if your butter is really, really cold, so I recommend keeping it in the freezer for up to an hour before you start.
Fun fact, I also do this when I make garlic bread, garlic cheese bread, because you can just spread the butter on the bread and then spread the cheese on the bread. So you can't be afraid to get your hands a little bit messy. We're gonna take our shredded butter, we're gonna take your wedding ring off unless you want buttery, floury rings. We have 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour. I have 2 teaspoons of sugar, and I have 1 teaspoon of salt. And we're gonna need, but first, this is correct. I'm all over the place today, that's okay. Oh no, did it freeze? I accidentally left my water in my freezer for too long. That's not good. Okay, it'll unfreeze. You have some cold, not frozen water on standby, because we'll use this to help turn this into a dough. Please melt. Okay, and then we knead it together.
The goal here is just to break up any coarse, buttery crumbles to create one homogeneous dough. Gradually adding cold water will help with that, about a tablespoon at a time.
Can't believe I let this happen. So close. Oh! Jesus Christ! I'm sorry. I'm sorry, that's a little an overreaction on my part. It's okay. If you got too much water in there, you can just add more flour. Oh no, it's too sticky. It's very cold. Oh man. How I'm going to grab my flour canister, I don't know. Will you go grab the flour canister? Please. Please just go get it and bring it over here and open it up.
Good news for me is that if you accidentally pour an entire cup of water into your dough, you can fix it and reverse course by just adding more flour.
Thank you. Just take a little flour. Okay, great. What a nightmare. Okay. Now we have some dough.
Enjoyed this clip of my cats having little regard for me or the baking trauma I just endured.
Okay, so we're gonna divide this into 2 separate dough balls.
You're gonna turn these balls into discs about 1 inch thick, wrap them in saran wrap or plastic wrap, and stick them in the fridge until you are ready for them.
Into the fridge. Okay, next. Okay, once you've emotionally recovered from making your dough, we're gonna make the innards. So my favorite kind of pie is a triple berry pie, so I'm using raspberries, blueberries, and strawberries. This is roughly 4 cups. And make sure you wash your fruit, okay? If you don't wash your fruit, you got problems, or you're gonna have problems, okay? I have 1 cup of granulated sugar. This is another Allie tip. Most pie recipes only call for like a tablespoon of cornstarch, but then they take forever to set, and you don't get like a good scoop, like it doesn't stay together. So I use 1/4 of a cup of cornstarch because I like a more congealed, makes it sound gross, but more of a congealed setup pie. So 1/4 cup of cornstarch. And then last Allie tip, a lot of pie recipes won't call for like spices in fruit pies. Sometimes you'll see like lemon juice or whatever, but I think it tastes really good when you add a little bit of cinnamon. I think it tastes really good when you add a little bit of cinnamon and a little bit of nutmeg and then a pinch of kosher salt to your pie filling. And then we combine. Okay, you want to let this sit for just a little bit before you fill your pie crust with it, because the berries are going to continue to release their juices while they sit. So this can just vibe right here. And now we're going to go get our pie crust from the fridge.
So one of these discs is going to become the bottom part of your dough, which is going to line your pie sheet pan.
Oh man, that was so close. So close. I'm gonna try again. I suck.
For me, this took multiple attempts, but that's okay. The gluten is going to get a little bit harder to work with the more you play with your dough, but just make sure it lines the entire bottom of your dish.
That looks good. I'm going to swap this out in the fridge while I do my other one.
The second of your dough discs is going to become a lattice top, or whatever kind of decorative top you would like. We're keeping it simple with a lattice top, so I'm just rolling this out and then cutting it into strips using a pizza cutter or a really sharp knife. And make sure you poke holes in the bottom of your bottom pie crust to allow for proper ventilation.
Look how pretty that is. Are you joking on me?
I cut off the excess pie dough around my dish before starting to create my lattice. You do this first by laying a bunch of your strips parallel, like train tracks, along the front of your pie. And then you just kind of do this little crisscross maneuver where you pull half of them back, lay down a crisscrossed section, pull the other ones back on top, and then do it over and over again, alternating which guys you are folding over. It looks complicated, it's really not that hard.
We're gonna trim off the excess. We're just getting flour everywhere. I don't know if this is cheating, the way that I make like the exterior ring of the pie, but like I never really learned how, so I kind of do my own little cheater way, where I will take like a tube of dough, do like half of it at a time, and I place it around the outside, and then that is what I crimp. I don't know if that's like allowed in the rules of pie, but all is fair in love and pie, you know what I'm saying? And that is how I do the exterior of the pie. Again, some pie devotee is probably watching this and just seething right now, but I can't change who I am. I'm a cheater at heart. Okay, so now we're just gonna do a little egg wash on the outside so it gets nice and browned. Even if your pie is ugly, that's okay, because it's your pie. My pies are ugly, but I still like them. They still taste good. And honestly, I've learned after cooking and making desserts for a lot of people, nobody cares what they look like, you know? The fact that you took the time out of your day to go buy ingredients and assemble them in a very specific order and bake them and make your kitchen a disaster and then transport said dessert to whoever you're bringing it to, that's enough. They don't have to look pretty. And that's my truth. At least that's what I tell myself when I show up with like a monstrosity. Like, these people are just happy that I'm here. Amazing. Okay, this cooks for like 90 minutes. So we're gonna put this in the oven, and when the top starts to get a little too brown, we're gonna cover it with aluminum foil. I love you. Do good in there.
As you can see, at around the 60-minute mark, my pie crust was starting to get a little bit dark, so I made a nice little aluminum foil tent to protect it from getting too crispy on the top while the rest of the pie continued to bake. You can also buy a pie ring, but I don't have one of those. So this thing is gonna have to cool for at least 2 hours before you cut into it, because as you can see, the inside is still literally boiling. So don't eat it. You gotta wait.
All right, so the pie has been out of the oven for about 2 hours. It's still got some like residual warmth underneath, but it's holding its shape okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and try it. And I'm gonna eat it right out of the dish because I don't wanna get another dish dirty. Sorry. Yeah, that's really awesome. If I did anything differently, and I should have known this before I did it, if I didn't drain the juice out of the berries before I put them in the pie, which is why I have like this seepage because they were so liquidy, I was just really excited to make the pie, and I forgot to drain the juice before I put it in the pie dish. So that's why you get some seepage. Also, sometimes if steam gets trapped on top of your pie, like it doesn't evaporate correctly, so it can be super liquidy and not like as flaky. But it kind of sucks because it's like, do you want your pie crust to be burned, or do you want it to be like a little soupy when you do your little aluminum foil tent? So the flavor is fantastic. The technical elements of getting the perfect texture and consistency, we're not quite there, but honestly, like the pie crust is super crispy. This is crispy on top. There's just a lot of liquid.
As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.